Hey YouTube, it's KarQ here. We have Aaron Keller, the Overwatch 2 director, with an article called The Director's Take, where he goes over a little bit of his thoughts on Season 4 and what's up and coming for Season 5. For their balance update, Season 5 will begin Tuesday, June 13th. It is currently June 6th in about 1 week. He's giving us a little teaser, a little taste. I'm going to read it to you and give you my. As Season 4 ends, I'd like to look at the game's balance. This season, we saw a wide selection of heroes get played, and for the most part, the game felt fairly balanced. I don't agree with this, especially after the mid-season patch. From a win rate perspective, Season 3 and 4 were some of the most balanced in recent Overwatch history. I would agree with Season 3, anecdotally, not what the data says. The data apparently says otherwise, but I would say Season 3 was good. Season 4, not so much. With this in mind, let's look at 3 different topics from Season 4 and talk about how they will change in Season 5 and beyond. Specifically, I'd like to go over heroes like Queen and Lifeweaver, one-shot and crowd control abilities in 5v5. There were a few standouts from a tuning perspective in Season 4. In the mid-season patch, Queen was given a series of buffs, and she really started to dominate. Yes. Her win rate popped up by about 5%. This is probably the average across all ranks. That's pretty significant, by the way. And she went from being one of the lowest pick tanks to one of the highest. For most skill tiers, Queen and Reinhardt were the 2 most picked tanks for the latter half of the season. However, at Masters and above, Queen is far and away the most picked tank. Absolutely. If you don't play Queen in top 500, you almost lose. Not every game, but every game will usually have at least one. Very rarely will you get the Diva Mirror or I mean, I guess the top 3 choices in high elo at this time were Queen for sure. Secondary was probably Diva near the second half. Third, maybe Ramatra and Sigma, depending on the map, and that was about it. One of the big changes we made to Queen was increase the healing received from her passive. That's right, it was 1.25x bleed to 2x bleed. That was crazy. They said we like this addition to her playstyle, but it makes Queen too survivable, so we'll be reducing the health she receives from Commanding Shout from 200 to 150. Good start to compensate. We'll also be increasing the cost of her ult by a small amount, since she is getting it at a faster rate than before the mid-season changes. So here is the biggest problem with Overwatch balance that maybe the balance team is overlooking. You don't see it on paper, but you have to consider this when you balance. Whenever you buff any part of a hero, you always have to consider how much faster or slower ultimate charges are being built. It's always twofold. If you increase the healing, that means the ult's going to be higher. If you nerf a hero's damage, that also means they're building the ultimate a little slower. Whenever you nerf a single number, there's an indirect effect on another portion of the kit, which is the ultimate, and that's pretty significant. Increasing the amount of healing of the bleed made Queen build ult so freaking fast. It was insane at end this patch, which made her so good. So finally, they're increasing the cost of it to compensate. They're not giving the specific amount of increase of cost, but hopefully it's enough to offset the bleed buffs that they gave. And Queen's also one of those heroes where you can build your next rampage while the current rampage is going, not from the rampage damage itself, but from the axe swings and everything. There's a lot of inconsistency, which is a big annoyance for me, that some heroes are able to build their next ultimate while one is out, while some aren't. For example, Wrecking Ball, when he pops his mines, the mines themselves don't give any ult charge, which is fine. But I think if you pile drive, if you're in the air and you pop your mines and then you pile drive, that pile drive damage will contribute to the next ultimate. Okay, that's fine if you're gonna do it that way. But then remember, in the beginning of Season 4, they made it so when Ashe pops Bob, she no longer gains any ultimate charge, not from Bob itself, but also from dynamites and all your shots in between. They're kind of really misaligned here. And then same with Queen. She builds her ultimate way too fast for the same reason. You pop your rampage, yes, the bleeds are ticking, but everybody's running. You're able to just run up, Carnage, axe, shot, and you're at 40% ult charge at the end of it. It's, come on, man, just make it consistent. Please, balance team. And please look at the 2 parts of buffing and nerfing. So my thoughts at the Queen nerfs, good, finally. Took them 5 weeks too long. This was added mid-season 4. We had 5 weeks of Queen domination. In Season 2, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, they did early mid-season patch, they did a mid-season patch, and they did a late-season patch for the final 2 weeks. Am I asking for too much? They kind of set the precedent that they're able to hotfix and tune numbers at a really rapid pace. What, is it really unreasonable for me to be yo, Queen was a bit overtuned? These were the reasons. Can you do a late season patch for the final 2 weeks? Is it that easy to push out? You did it before. Can you do it again? next time things are get a little ridiculous. Lifeweaver is a really dynamic hero. Some of the plays that people have pulled off with him during Season 4 were pretty astonishing. However, he's not powerful enough to be a solid pick for most players, absolutely. Previously, we stated that we would like there to be a reason to pick new heroes over others in the roster. This is still our goal for new heroes. We want them to bring something new to the table. However, at the moment, we are looking at the best way to bring Lifeweaver to a baseline. Once people are playing him more, we will get a cleaner read on the character. The thing is, nobody's playing him in rank, so they don't even have enough data to kind of like find a baseline. So I really think they should overbuff him right now and then tune back. But that's just me, because I looked it up on Overbuff a few weeks ago. He had a 39% average win rate, and that is like the worst amongst every single hero in the game. In Season 5, there will be quite a few changes, mostly buffs coming to Lifeweaver. We will have specific details in the patch notes. Players can expect increases to the healing and damage output, a heal on the life grip. So when you life grip them, you not only reposition them. Okay, that's good. You give them like a maybe like a 50 HP heal, 20, 25. What seems reasonable? Maybe 50. You bring them to safety and you pump them back up a little bit. Sure. Reduced hitbox. Good. That was a big complaint. Some quality of life changes to pedal platform. I like where this is going. I still have a feeling he's not going to be great, because unless this damage output isn't increased, it'll be tough. Oh, we'll continue to both monitor Jungle Queen and Lifeweaver and make additional changes if necessary. And please, rapid changes. Like, I know you need some time for patches to marinate, but like after 2-3 weeks, another early before mid-season patch. Or late season patch. Come on. The community has also voiced concerns over the number of one-shots from both Widowmaker and Hanzo. I mean, I bitch about these snipers a little bit too. Mostly Widowmaker. It's super annoying to get one-shot. But luckily we're not in a crazy sniper meta right now, so I haven't been bitching about it as much lately. We'd like to reduce the frequency of these in the game, as well as shore up some of the extreme sightlines in some of our maps. So, Widowmaker's fall off will change from 70 to 100 meters to 40 to 60 meters. The damage fall off scaler will also increase from 30 to 50%. She will still have the ability to one-shot 200 health heroes at 50 meters or less, but further than that, it will no longer be a killing blow. Ooh. You're kind of killing the identity of the hero. She has that 175 HP, and she needs to play closer now to be within kill range. Widowmaker is pretty good in top 500, but I think she's always been average at most ranks. I actually think if they're going to do this, that's fine. You can put her back to 200 HP. So the thing about Widowmaker was that she was able to play 100 meters away really safe. So the 175 HP wasn't that like noticeable, because a lot of heroes need to expend every movement to reach her. For example, if you play on Ilios Ruins all the way in the back, if you're a Winston on the point, you cannot reach her in one leap unless you have Primal. As a Diva, you can't make it to her in one boost. As Ball, you have to like roll really far. Doomfist probably can do it, because Doomfist has like crazy horizontal movement. But the fact that you have to play this 40 meters closer means you're one jump away from a dive tank. Tracer doesn't have to expend as many blinks. As a Genji, you don't have to like dash as far. You only have to do one dash to just jump on her. I actually think you can bring her back to 200 HP. That's something I wanted to point out. I saw on Twitter before this article, I didn't actually watch it yet. PMA Jellies is a workshopper. He actually demonstrated what the Widow fall off looks like. So let's take a look really quick. Okay, so this is probably the before. So what you see here is that point on Ilios, like I just mentioned. This green is the fall off range. You're doing full damage to everybody on the point on Ilios Ruins here. Now he just pressed the button and he changed the range here. So now you only do full damage, pretty much not even on the point. So that normal first safe spot here that a lot of snipers, Widows start at, you will not be able to one-shot people on point from here, which is what the example I just pointed out, where Winston from point can't actually jump to Widow from here. So now if Widow wants to one-shot people on Ilios Ruin, she has to play here. And in this spot, you are jumpable by Winston, Diva, Genji, one jump, all that stuff. This is the, sorry, he has the old range. This is the new range. This green aura. This part, like, people playing behind this piece of cover will not be able to get one shot anymore, which I'm not a Widow player, so like I'm like secretly happy about this, but I can assume Widow players are kind of annoyed. This is previous. You're able to one-shot everybody here on this long sight line. Now, if anybody's playing behind here, you are no longer be able to get one shot. That's pretty significant. Another sniper map, Havana, able to one-shot anybody from spawn here. Now the new range, at least you don't die out of spawn. It's still pretty powerful here in this position, simply because this is a sniper spot. You should be able to one-shot everybody in this vicinity, which is a hot zone for fights. Another spot here, old versus new. Ooh. So now when you walk out of spawn on Havana on attack, you don't get one shot anymore. This is pretty bad for Widow players, which is why I'm saying you need to bring her back to 200 HP. Or maybe do like a medium ground. This is a huge nerf to her on a lot of these maps. I feel like at this range, you might as well just play Ashe, if I'm going to be honest with you. If you're going to fight people within this distance to be effective. Like, it's not like you're not going to do no damage, but the fall off is maximal 50%, which means you only do 150 for a headshot at max. But then at 30% of 300, what is that? Or 70%, 10? At minimum, you should be able to still do it. And that's the new range here. Because you're one jump away, back to 200 HP is fine for me. Maybe lower the grapple cooldown is if you're going to keep it this way. But for now, I think Widow gets like bumped down to like C or D tier, unless you just hit everything. But damage fall off scaler, she will still have the ability to one-shot 200 health heroes at 50 meters or less, but further, no longer killing blow. Okay, Hanzo. Hanzo will receive a slight nerf to his damage so that he's no longer able to one-shot 250 health heroes. His sonic arrow will also be more recognizable by the enemy team. The intent is to reduce the kills. They feel like they come out of nowhere, because maybe you can hear it. We're constantly discussing the nature of one-shots Overwatch 2, whether they're healthy for the game. This is probably fine. Hanzo is the only hero in the game that has a 125 damage full charge arrow. 120 is the sweet spot for a lot of heroes in this game. Junkrat does 120 with the grenade. Pharah does 120. For some reason, Hanzo's full charge is 125 exactly to make him strong in the Mei and Reaper matchup. But this is going to be important, though. So this is probably just a minor nerf. Maybe the full charge arrow is anywhere between one... If it's 100 damage on the full charged arrow, so you can still like headshot like 200 HP heroes, that's too big of a nerf. Instead of 125, maybe 120. Maybe 120 is fine. I don't think that's actually that big of a deal. However, it will matter now because this is probably where they're talking about Mei. Okay, so lastly, I'd like to talk about crowd control abilities in the game. When we launched Overwatch 2, we made some significant changes to our combat model, the shift from 6v6 to 5v5, and a part of the change was to remove most crowd control abilities from our damage and support heroes. Correct. Rig didn't originally have a lost her easy stun, not in her ultimate. Mei lost her freeze stun. Sombra lost the long silence. So overall, we think that this was a positive change to the game. At times, the original game felt like you were in a pinball machine, but we have a lot of high mobility heroes in the roster, and the team can't always rely on their tank to take them out. So we're actually softening our approach here. We don't want to return to the state of the game like it was previously, but we feel like there is room for more CC, especially soft CC in our lineup. Soft probably being slows, roots maybe. We'll be making changes to both Mei and Cassidy for Season 5. Mei's endothermic blaster will be updated. The primary fire will still slow targets, but it will build up to an effect that will apply a much larger slow. More slows? For players of the original game, this will feel familiar to the way her old weapon worked. Cassidy's magnetic grenade will also be updated to deal less damage, however, as well as applying an effect that slows and blocks movement abilities. Wait, what? I don't know how I feel about this. I am a no for this. I actually think Mei is fine. Cassidy is fine. Some heroes are like, are able to move kind of fast, sure, but like, that's probably the reason why Tracer is still so good, but you could just nerf Tracer's damage a little bit and not do this. They already nerfed it from 6, it was 5.5 or something right now instead of 6 per bullet. I don't know, I feel like Mei was already pretty good. I don't think they need this, and Cass is still fine and pretty good. I'm not sure what this actually means though, and applies an effect, so after the magnetic grenade explodes or while it's stuck on you, you can't move. This to me sounds like it'll deal less damage. This sounds like after it blows up on you, whether you're stuck, if your people are around you, they all get slowed and they can't use their movement ability for like what, a second? I don't know. This is kind of ridiculous. This is kind of not what I was expecting. On top of these changes, we'll be making tweaks to several other heroes in Season 5. We can't wait for you to see them when the patch goes live, as well as other fun things we have coming. As always, thank you for reading, and I'll see you in game. Every time the balance team does something that sounds pretty drastic on paper, granted, some of them have been kind of ridiculous, but sometimes things are not as bad as they appear. A lot of times people overreact, including myself sometimes, knee-jerk reaction. I'm gonna give it a shot, but I'm gonna give honest criticism and feedback when it does come in. I'll see how it actually feels. Maybe it's not as like oppressive as it sounds on paper, right? I remember even with Lifeweaver, when people first heard his abilities, they're like, "Holy fuck, this guy's crazy, OP," and then he was actually shit. Maybe they're nerfing other things. This is just an article, so they don't even give exact numbers. Maybe if they're adding more slow to Mei, maybe her damage like gets nerfed and it's actually cheeks. Maybe the magnetic grenade does like 20 damage now or 50 damage instead of 120. It does apply some CC, but maybe it does nothing. Who knows? I will react on paper. I don't like the CC change. I'm just putting that out there. And there's one final thing I need to share as well. Alec Dawson. Oh, wait a minute. Aha. Alec Dawson, who is the lead hero designer. I did have this tab open. I mentioned Mei's damage. Maybe it's cheeks. It looks like Alec Dawson has mentioned numbers. With the Mei changes, the damage DPS is 100 to 55 DPS. Wait, that is a bad, that is a significant nerf. Suddenly, I don't feel so bad about Mei getting more slows. That is a huge nerf to the DPS. I was like, wait, Mei's gonna be OP. Hanzo can't one-shot her anymore. But we just saw this. Mei's DPS is getting gutted in compensation just to be like, I don't know. Maybe there's more Mei changes that they're not announcing. Let's put that out there. But this is really low, by the way. Everybody knows how Zarya's beam feels kind of like weak with 0 energy. I think Zarya's default beam is 90 DPS. So it doesn't feel great. 100 on Mei felt fine because you slowed them and it was AoE. So now 55, this is Overwatch 1 numbers where like you need to freeze them in spot, then you headshot them. So that's quite a big trade-off. Okay, so for Lifeweaver though, experimented with the passive that they gave more healing for ally missing health and added effects for standing on the platform, but we felt bringing up his stats across the board gives more space to work with in the future. Okay, so this is an experiment, but at the end of the day, he's just giving some extra insight where at the end of the day, just boosting the stats everywhere gives him more space to work with. Oh, okay, that's a good point. So now with the increased slow for Mei, where is it? Endothermic Blaster, still slow, build up to effect that will apply a larger slow for 1.5 seconds. Basically, the DPS is cut, so you, instead of just holding the beam down, like, you know, you have no brain, shut it off, walk into a diva or tank, at least you actually have, they're slowed enough, they're supposed to follow up with a headshot to fully chunk them down. I mean, if you think about it, Icicle does 150 on the head. 55 DPS means if you can slow them down enough, you at least follow up with a headshot. That is probably what they're going for. Again, we're gonna have to see, but hey, that is what Aaron Keller has teased. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and we'll see you in Season 5, June 13th. All right, KarQ out.